Okay, hopefully you had a nice little break. All right, so what I ended up doing was I regrouped my x's, put them in the same group because they belong to the same family, if you will. And then the y's, I put them together and I added the coefficient 3 plus 1 to get 4x. And I added positive 1 and negative 1 to get 0y. And I remembered, and actually this can be a positive, it doesn't really matter because it's a 0, so it's going to disappear anyway. And then I remember that anything times 0 is is 0. So my answer is only 4x. Okay, so as a recap, in order to combine like terms, you want to separate the terms by putting a space between the signs. Again, you don't have to do this, it's just helpful until you get better at doing this, okay? Then you want to notice if they don't have any coefficients. In the case, y, x, and y did not have a coefficient, so I put a 1 in front of them because it's understood. I then regrouped them, the x's together, the y's together. I then added the coefficients, and I simplified, okay? So let's get the next example done, okay? The next example says, example number 2, it says 3x plus 2x squared plus 4. For those of you who do not copy the original problem and are not careful, you're gonna struggle. Don't skip the step of copying the problem because that is going to give you all kinds of headaches, okay? So then I check. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms, and I want to simplify it. And by the way, on example number 1, remember when we started, there were... Sorry about that. Remember there was 4 terms, but once I simplified it, there was only 1 term, and that's called a monomial. So it wasn't a quadrinomial. Quad means 4. It was not a quadrinomial. It just looked like it because it wasn't simplified. Well, the same thing is going to happen here. It looks like there's 6 terms, a polynomial, but we're going to see that it really is not, okay? All right, so this is a little different. You notice you have an x here and you have an x squared. You might think those are the same terms, but they're not the same terms because in order for them to be the same terms, the variables have to be exactly the same. It doesn't mean the coefficient has to be the same. It means the variable has to be the same. This is actually the x and this is the x squared. A good example I like to use is, for example, if I said Henry and Henrys, or Maya and Mayas, okay? Those are similar but not the same. One has an S, one doesn't. And so it's the same thing here. Those are not part of the same family, so I can't group them together. But what I will do is I will notice that this has a 2. 2 is more than 1. Now remember, this has an invisible 1. It's not written, we don't want to write it there, but we can imagine that it's there. So since 2 is bigger than 1, we'll put our x squared family group first. So I'll put x squared. I'm going to cross this off. And I don't need the positive in front because you don't usually write positives in front of numbers. If it was a negative, then I would have to put the negative because negative is not understood, okay? All right, so I'm going to find all of my x squares. There's a 1. Oh, I forgot to insert my coefficients, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I'm going to insert my coefficients. All right, and then this is another x squared. So now I do have to put the plus because if I don't put the plus, look what happens. It looks like multiplication. 2x squared with nothing in between would mean multiply, and we don't want to multiply, we want to add, so you have to keep the sign. Okay, so I'm going to cross this one off since I've finished. And I'm going to keep going. Now, I don't want to put my constant yet because I still have x's. They're just different x's. So now I'm going to bring and notice I went all the way back left to right. Don't go in the middle because you'll get confused. Go left to right. All right, so I'm going to put plus 3x. Notice that this didn't have a plus, but I added it here because it's between terms and you need to have a sign. Okay, so I'm going to cross that one off. I'm going to continue with my x's and bring this one down. Okay, and then I'm going to notice that there's no more x's, so I'm going to start left to right again, and I'm going to bring down my constants, plus 4 and minus 1. I have now used the commutative property and the associative property to regroup. I have 2x squared plus 1x squared. This is one family. They're the same family. They both have the same last name, x squared. This is a different family. They both have the same last name, x. This is the different family. They have no x's. So they're 1, 2, 3 terms. This is actually a trinomial, okay? So 2 plus 1, remember you only add the coefficient. Do not add the exponents. When you add the exponents, that's actually the multiplication rule, and we're not using that rule right now. So this becomes 3x squared, not 3x to the 4th, okay? And then you're going to say 3 minus 1 is plus 2x, okay? And then 4 minus 1 is plus 3. Now notice that I put my positive numbers first in each term. I didn't put the negative 1x over here because I don't want to get confused. I want to make sure that my positive numbers are first. Okay, now I have 3x squared plus 2x squared, and I have my constant. These are different terms, so I cannot add the 3 and the 2. Don't add those. You can't, because that has an exponent of 2. That does not have an exponent. And then this 3 doesn't have a letter, so I can't add this. So I am done simplifying. That is the answer to this polynomial, okay? So it is not a hard subject, and I think it's actually quite fun, but you do have to take time and go through it. If you have questions and you're still not clear, please ask me, and I can go over it with you another time alone, okay? And again, remember, here are your geometry problems. Okay, guys, take care.